Many British holidays finish in a hypermarket like this one in Calais, buying goods at cheaper prices. However, with 1992 coming, let's see how many British products we can find. It wasn't a scientific survey, but the pattern soon became clear. I didn't expect to see any British wine, but I was disappointed with the water. Not a drop of British spring water in sight. There was you-know-who's tonic water, but that was bottled in France, and the copious supplies of beer heading for the Channel ferries were exclusively continental. Is Calais further than some English beers can reach? Fruit and veg I expected to be local, but what about the cheese? Alas, in a comprehensive selection from all over Europe, it seems that the only English cheese that can travel is cheddar. This hypermarket is the nearest to England, and this is all I can find. 3 bottles of Worcester sauce, and we're supposed to be a trading nation. Shouldn't we be worried?
Once upon a time, it used to be Europe, we're not part of it. There's 22 miles of water between us and them. We're quite happy with what we're doing here. What the Single Market Europe Open for Business campaign has done has been to change that attitude. People within the UK now accept, for better for worse, that we are part of the European community. And that is being seen now in the changing of attitudes towards Europe. They are realizing that the market is there, 325 million people plus within the community alone. They're also realizing that the completion of the Channel Tunnel, which is 6 months ahead of schedule, will bring about a major route into the community, not just for West Midlands companies, but for competitors from France, from Germany, from Spain.
And that competition is not restricted to the supermarket shelves or the brand of beer you drink. The most public part of Birmingham's International Convention Centre is Centenary Square, a paved open space with fountains and ornate street furniture. It cost £3 million. A number of people have commented on how continental the new piazza here in Birmingham looks, which is hardly surprising when one considers it's been constructed by an Italian company. For those of you at home who think, well, that's a problem for the bosses, then just remember that every time a German or French or Italian company constructs something like this, it's you that doesn't work. Surveys on awareness of the single European market target the failure of most small companies to think strategically about recruitment, training, and initiating change in company culture. But this was not what I found at Thornton's Chocolates, a public company with the family still at the helm and factories in the East Midlands. I wanted to see how a company could take on the Europeans in a field they considered to be their own, with Swiss and Belgians claiming to make the best chocolate. Well known for their continental selection, Thorntons now have a Belgian box, with contents made in Derbyshire and in Antwerp. Their initial move into Belgium involved buying the Gartner factory and its retail shops. It was the same strategy they adopted for France.
We researched the market there, and we decided that it would be best served by going in with acquisition, because the market's very local, retail markets are very local. Our tastes are very local, and we thought we'd be best to go in as a local company rather than a British company, and this came out in the research. We've now got 60 shops in France, trading under the Marcel name. They're well located, primarily located in Paris and throughout northern France. We believe there's a tremendous opportunity for our business over there.
We had many problems with languages.
Well, languages is a very important subject. I don't think one can really appreciate the culture properly without speaking the language. Now, that doesn't mean to say that I speak French yet. My German's not too bad, but my French isn't where it should be. We are encouraging a lot of management to speak languages. We run courses here for our management. We do think it's very important. We do think, I think generally nationally it would be, we should have a policy much more actively encouraging language speaking.
A view shared by Dutch Managing Director of Shot Glass UK, a German firm trading in Stafford. They've been taking Europe, and in particular language, seriously since 1988, when the firm started planning for the single market. As a fluent English speaker, I wondered how Dr. Van den Broek viewed our unwillingness to learn other languages.
Of course, it is difficult to generalize here, and one cannot say that every company would be the same. I think it is fair to say, though, that there is quite a gap in Europe between the linguistic ability, but also the parity that is the two languages in the UK compared with the continent. Now, that comes down to the culture of the country as well, I would say. It is a matter of how important languages are being found, and of course we have the good fortune here of being able to speak English, and language is understood by most Europeans. So the motivation is not the same as in most European countries. However, I must say I've seen a change in this country the last 3 years. Most of the evening classes of the local colleges are now overbooked, and also within our company we started the language course about a year ago, and I was absolutely surprised at the uptake. About 40% of the employees were interested in learning German.
Nottingham's Guy Birkin have been making plates for 150 years. Formerly a craft industry, now with computer technology at all stages of production. It is a major money spinner. The home market is saturated, so Guy Birkin have been making a planned assault on the continental market. They see language as a major weapon, and not just for sales personnel.
I felt it was also necessary for the general company and the general ambience or feeling within the company to understand language. We have an inbuilt fear as British, be Scottish or Irish, English, or Welsh. We have an inbuilt fear of speaking strange languages. The secret was to give people practice, and that's what we generated within the company by running classes which were open to a large number of staff who would like to at any one time speak to a potential customer. None of them will go on to be language teachers, I don't think. Not many of us are tremendously fluent, but it's generally recognised if you can start a conversation that your European customer will accept that you'll at least try it.
The Calais end of the Guy Birkin operation is concrete evidence of their commitment to Europe. Jim Telfer is firmly of the belief that to succeed in any market, be it France, Germany, Italy or Spain, one must have a backup team in place before sales inquiries come in. To that end, it was essential to have French-speaking staff in France. In charge of the French overseas team is Howard Hodgson, Nottingham-born and bred. Guy Birkin supply a number of outlets in France. The nearest to Nottingham is in Calais itself, where Les make up finished garments using Birkin and other lace. Why Birkin lace? Well, because they like the quality and the fact that they can guarantee delivery.
When we decided to come into France, one of the things that we had to look at was location. Calais suited us very well because the home of French lace is Calais, so having a Calais address obviously opened several doors and offered several advantages to us. We had to staff it. If you're dealing with French, traditionally there is a little bit of sort of a contretemps, if you like, between the English and the French. So having a French address, a Calais address, and staffing it with French nationals actually was a great advantage.
So was it difficult for Carol and her colleagues to brush up on their O-level language skills? Was the help available in Nottingham?
We found it was very easily available. Our local college offered us a super service. They offer different courses. But the course that we chose actually suited us. It was very flexible. They worked around us. We found that we could actually study when we wanted to. And even on occasions, if we weren't able to go to the college, they were able to come to us. So it worked very well.
Did you enjoy your stay?
I did. It was wonderful. Thanks very much.
There's your receipt and your card.
Thank you.
Thank you.
20% of German businessmen speak English, whereas only 7% of British businessmen speak German. And with the single market upon us, is that really good enough? Still not too late. Another initiative I came across was the Language Export Centre, a network set up by the Department of Education and Science 4 years ago. They combine export consultancy and specific language training.
The seminar today is obviously concerned with Spain. For me, Spain has an extraordinary cultural diversity of art, music, football, quite extraordinary diversity. One of my favourite holiday villages, which I shan't tell anybody where it is, also happens to be in Spain. But apart from that, I don't have very positive, powerful perceptions of Spain and what it's like to sell there and to market there and to see Spain in the same way that we see clients in Birmingham or in London. Now that is the sort of challenge that faces all of us. The notion that it is foreign, it becomes our domestic market. And that is the real challenge.
This DC Market Seminar on Spain is one of a series being run by the Staffordshire Centre by bringing together private training companies, chambers of commerce, local businessmen and women. They can provide wide-ranging advice on doing business abroad.
On appearances, the Spanish are tremendously material. I know it might sound rather petty, but it's best to dress as immaculately, as best as you can, you know. Splash on a new tie or new suit, new accessories, and they're shoe fanatics. First thing is look at your shoes. So, I mean, invest in a very expensive pair of shoes.
British enjoy the privilege of speaking the most commonly used language in the world. It could be our downfall. So a positive step is to get a language order. No, not more Euro jargon, but a service like fax translation available from your LX Centre.
The first question we ask is, what are your business objectives in learning the language? What do you need to do? We look at language as one part of the overall expertise required within an organisation to achieve its export objectives. We would carry out a language audit in the organisation to determine the existing skills that the organisation has and its future language needs. From this, a coherent policy can be drawn up and training programmes designed to meet the needs of the organisation and the individuals within it. In this way, training is more relevant and therefore more cost-effective because learners are more motivated and stimulated to learn.
Jonathan Smith told me that a number of companies in the Stoke area had done long-term language training schemes spurred on by his centre. French, German, Spanish and Italian, and all being provided on a regular basis. And there's strong demand too for Russian and Japanese. Between the Pilot and Rioja, I carried out some more market research. Do you actually have anyone in the company that speaks Spanish?
Un poquito, I think is the word, is it not? We try. I mean, it's come from trips abroad, I suppose, during 70s and 80s holidays, that kind of thing. But we hadn't undertaken a course in the language, which perhaps we ought to have done.
It's educational. It can't do any harm. So even though we have established agents around the world, it gives you further insight into what we're missing out and what we aren't doing.
The main resource that people go away with in their hands is the delegate pack, which has a lot of information, summaries of the sort of services and advice and help that's available to them that we've talked about in the seminars, which they can take away and follow up afterwards, because obviously there's an awful lot of information that comes out during these seminars and they can't absorb it all in one go, so they've got to source there that they can follow up. They've got contact names, they've got information that they can utilise as and when they need to, when they decide to make efforts in the Spanish market and in other markets.
Many other colleges are also playing their part. Indeed, for 6 years, Matthew Bolton have sent engineering students on 10-day work experience in German industry. But is language important?
It's very important, but I hesitate to say that it's anything any more important than coming to terms with new quality control standards, for example, in Europe, or good marketing planning. I wouldn't say it's more important than that. But let me put it to you like this. If you were a German client and I knocked on your door and put my head round and said, excuse me, do you speak English? Then that's an amazingly arrogant assumption. And I think that we've fallen into the trap of assuming that because English is an international language, we expect other people to speak it when we go out there. I went into a German restaurant on my first visit, and my first question to the German waitress was, do you speak English here? And she said, no, we speak German, and you'll get through and order your meal in German. And we did it. And I think this is the important route for employers to follow. A KPMG survey discovered that whereas 1 in 5 UK company managers in large companies could converse in at least one other European language, the record of the rest of Europe, which includes places like Ireland and Portugal, was significantly better. Twice as many managers in European companies could speak a second European language other than their own. So the answer to your question is that it's very important that people should at least be able to get by in a language that they regard as a target market. Now, whether they need to equip their entire management force to speak that language is another question. But clearly, a company needs to say, what sort of business are we planning to do with this country? What language requirements does that impose upon us? And how can we best equip ourselves to deal with those? Because if it's just a question of translating a fax or an incoming letter, then it may be sensible to refer to a translation agency. But if it is a question of building a relationship with clients and customers in those countries, then clearly you do need to identify either existing people who need language development, or perhaps to change your recruitment policy to ensure that you have people within the company who will be able to sustain that relationship in the language of the other partner.
The support of the finance houses is of the utmost importance, and they too want a return on any investment. Looking to the long term, Lloyds Bank International decided an idiot's guide to getting ready for Europe was called for.
Well, the book was commissioned because we were rather concerned about apathy amongst West Midlands and possibly national companies in the small and medium-sized end of the market, who really had no plans, hoping that 1992 single market would go away. So really what we did is we found amongst our corporate customer base a customer who did not really have any plans, any strategy for 1992. A rather traditional company in the electrical engineering sector, and we explained to them that you standing still is not an option. You have to be defensive or offensive business in the market, and that much legislation is already in place. What we did was we looked at the various options available to them, diversification, differentiation, arrangement, exiting. And based on those options and the implications of those options, along with the language necessity, this company, for example, they have nobody speaking the European language. They have a knowledge of German. They do translate their invoices in German. In fact, they do have a brochure of their goods in German. But they're sort of around the edges of the issues, so we wanted to drive it forward with them. We looked at the legislation that's currently in place, the health and safety, the environmental issues. Their factory, for example, the machines don't make a lot of noise, but the legislation states that over and above 95 decibels you have to distribute earplugs. But the employees don't use the earplugs because they can't hear the radios, and it's the radios that are making the noise. So we looked at all these issues, and we looked at also where they could go for funding for grants and financial
financial assistance. We looked at the way they were invoicing their foreign exchange management. And really, this is what it's all about. Why did we do it? Because we were concerned. We as a bank, Lloyds Bank, is concerned at the degree of apathy. I mean, there are various statistics one can see that 46% of UK industry have plans for 1992, whereas mainland Europe, 80% of industry have plans.
So with all the information that's been supplied by the DPI, tech, etc., why not a book?
We were concerned also that the degree of paper that had been coming out of Brussels and studies and the high seminars and then receiving masses of literature afterwards. We wanted something that was user-friendly. Eurospeak, we cut that out. I mean, there's no jargon in it. It's something that you can relate to. We want to, despite the fact it's electrical engineering sector, many of the issues are prevalent to all sectors of the small end of the market. The larger corporates obviously have their act together, but we wanted to have something that our corporate customers could relate to.
It would be wrong to say that no one is making an effort, and at this Redditch Spring factory, a language laboratory is available for the staff.
Sur la tête, il y a un chapeau. Le chapeau. Il est sur la tête. Le chapeau est sur la tête.
Very fortunate that we're able to put in a language lab, and we put it in not to have any great in-depth understanding of language because we won't get it from that particular installation. But we have a lot of visitors here from Germany, from Spain, particularly from France, and we thought it was necessary for our people, or helpful, at least to be able to say good morning, would like a coffee, and certainly for our reception, our salespeople, to have basic knowledge, and that's worked quite well for us.
Have the staff taken easily to it, or has it been a bit of an uphill struggle?
Well, we made it available to everyone across the factory on a very open basis. They can use it whenever they like within their free time. We didn't prescribe it to anyone. And to be honest, it hasn't been taken up as much as we would have liked, and I think we're going to have to prescribe it to certain people. It has been taken up by a lot of people within the works, actually, particularly those that go to Spain for holidays want to know how to order a beer in Spanish.
So basically, the sales crew are perhaps not using it, whereas the people on the shop floor are.
I think the areas that are critical aren't using it as much as they should.
How's it going? So bad, but I'm still trying to find out to order the wine.
Paris in the spring, and a visit to their version of the National Exhibition Centre. I've come to see how Mason Cash and Midlands bowl manufacturers were getting on with the launch of their pet feeding products. One of Mrs. Thatcher's government apparently thought of the Thatcher's food. So let's go and some. Expo Zoo, part trade, part public show, runs for 3 days. We'd come on the 1st, a Saturday, when more serious business is largely done by the wholesale, a field where Mason Cash already have some experience.
For France, we already had a limited number of wholesalers, and what we felt we needed to do here was to get the idea across to the retailers and to the more general public. And so what we did here was we did a direct mailing shot to the French retailers with an introductory special offer, basically introducing our range with a special price and also a display stand, which you can see on our display stand here.
Do you experience any language difficulties actually at the show?
obviously we're working on that. We have a French lady on the stands, so we're able to speak to people in their own language. Obviously our literature, we have to prepare that all in French and get that printed up without mistakes. And we've swatted our own personal as well to be able to out on occasion.
Right, and this particular show is a DTI assisted show, so was it brave of you to come?
We're here because we felt it was necessary to be here. It's not the first pet show we've done overseas. The first one we did was a DTI assisted one, and that makes it a lot easier on the first time. But there are positive advantages in being on your own in amongst the other overseas people.
And as the major pet industry show on mainland Europe, clearly not to be missed. Even on day one, it had proved its worth.
Oh, definitely. We've had some very good inquiries from distributors all over Europe. Germany, the largest distributor of cat and dog products in Italy, North America, Belgium, Austria, Germany again, and so on. Now, all these will need to be followed up over the period of weeks after the exhibition.
That's actually all come to fruition because of the show.
Just because we're here and because we've mailed out to a lot of wholesalers throughout Europe telling them we were coming here. So part of the pre-exhibition preparation.
Well done, Mason Cash, and further proof of the absolute necessity of an offensive marketing strategy. My next visit was to Palais d'Or, a massive shopping complex near Versailles. Bonjour madame.
Bonjour monsieur.
Je veux une glace chocolat.
Oui, simple ou double?
Simple, s'il vous plaît. Oui, maintenant, vous avez le toffee?
Oui.
Ah, c'est anglais, oui.
Le toffee anglais.
Nearly right, not toffee, but toffee. And more important, toffee from Thornton's in Derbyshire, on sale in one of their Marshall shops. The French like their chocolate. In fact, at the end of the 19th century, they made the best in Europe. So much so that in 1877, the Cadburys felt the need to open a shop in Paris, and they later used the name Bournville because of its associations with French taste, particularly in chocolate. Now, Thornton's and Marshall being together.
Now, for a year and a half, Thornton's acquired the French business from Nestle and Rowntree back in October 1989.
Right, but they kept the Martial name.
Yes, as you can see from here, a large part of the Martial business is made in dry sugared almonds, actually. It's a traditional French market for which Martial has a leading and established reputation. On the side also, there was a bit of difficulty for the French to pronounce Thornton's correctly.
Right. But Thornton's presumably had some input with the chocolate, haven't they?
Yes, one of the great synergies between Thornton's and the French business was the fact that Thornton's manufactures high-quality chocolates. So they've introduced a range of chocolate in France. However, some of them picked directly from the English ranges. This one, for instance, which in England you would find a Thornton shop called Alpini. And some of them which were especially developed to suit the French markets. The French really having more bitter chocolates than British, I would say.
Right. And they like the toffee as well. But here's a prediction. Sugared almonds, bearing the Marcel name, on sale in a British Thornton shop. Watch this space. Paris actually closer to London than is Aberdeen. It's one of the most exciting city markets in Europe, if not the world. And the single market arriving in 1992, there is absolutely no reason why it shouldn't be just as easy to open your next branch here as anywhere in England.